And that great entrepreneur this week is Janice Litvin. Janice is a workplace wellness speaker about wellness, fitness, stress, burnout, and the author of the Banish Burnout Toolkit. And we are excited to hear all about what Janice is going to share. And I know we all can probably use a little help with the stress and the burnout and all that kind of good stuff. So on that note, Janice, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. I'm delighted to be here.
All right. Are you excited to teach us all how to relieve some of that stress?
I am very excited.
Okay, before we get into the weeds of the business, we want to hear about you as a bored computer programmer, and you decided to become a dancer in Reno for 4 years.
Yes, so my childhood dream was to become a dancer, like many little girls who take ballet. The problem was my dream never went away. My parents pushed me into math and computer science. And in high school, they said, "Don't you want to quit dance and go have fun with your friends?" I said, "I can have fun with my friends and still dance." So I never stopped dancing. And always was involved with dance, even in college, even though I had to get that mean old math degree. And then my mother told me, a woman with a technical degree will never have a problem finding a job. And in most cases, that was absolutely true. I found my first job during my spring break of my senior year. I came to San Francisco for 3 days, and on the third day, I had a job offer. And I went happily to work. I use the word happily in quotes because socially, it was the perfect place for me. There were a lot of people my age. I worked for Bank of America in a training program. We were all trained, and everyone was in their 20s in our group, and so it was a lot of fun. But the work, it turned out that it wasn't the right work for me, and that's why I was a bored computer programmer, because it didn't inspire me. It didn't really thrill me. What really thrilled me was talking to the people, talking to the users, training the users. And so a bunch of my dance friends were moving to LA, and I had saved some money after 4 years. So I thought, why not? I'm 26 years old. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And only I am responsible for my life. I don't have children. I don't have those big commitments. So I said, what the heck? And I moved to LA to become a professional dancer. You should have heard the conversation between me and my father when I got chosen to dance in Reno, Nevada, in a casino. And my father said, "You owe it to me to live a normal life. A nice Jewish girl does not dance in a casino."
That's all right.
Yeah.
Were you able to? Well, I'm sure it was like you better support yourself. We just gave you a college education.
Well, interestingly, I made the same money dancing as I did as a computer programmer.
Was it as fulfilling as you thought it would be?
Absolutely, yes. I loved it. I danced every night, 6 nights a week. And then it was Reno, so I skied during the day.
Wow. Now, did your feet just get worn out after 4 years, or what happened in 4 years?
No, the dance jobs were few and far between. All the TV variety shows had worn themselves out earlier in the 60s, and there just wasn't that much work. And though I loved being a starving artist, and I say that facetiously, of course I took a lot of part-time jobs, but I got tired of the starving artist life, even though I was living with some savings, and I moved back to California and got back into high tech.
Oh, well, hey.
I mean, back to Northern California.
Well, I think that's pretty cool because you still use your degree eventually, and
Yes.
you fulfilled your dream for 4 years. So very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, you might have always wondered, so it's good you took the plunge.
Exactly. You only have one life.
Yeah, sweet. All right, Janice, let's move on and let's get into the weeds of your entrepreneurial journey and your specialty now. Does that sound good with you?
Yes, absolutely, Greg.
Okay, now we are listening to somebody that has a lot of energy and a lot of positive emotions and, spewing it out, and we can feel the good vibes. But from what I understand about your background, there was a certain point in your life where you were a little bit overreactive and you had a lot of negativity, and you had to change yourself. So if we're out there, somebody's out there and, having too many negative thoughts or, something else, how do we go about changing like I think you have done in your past?
So on the outside, I was always a happy, upbeat bubbly personality kind of person. But on the inside, I had a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-criticism. And though I loved my mother very much, both my parents were from the old country, and so there were a lot of expectations placed on us, a lot of criticism, a lot of perfectionism. Why didn't you make all A's? You made all A's last semester. All those kinds of high pressure, high strung. And another thing that we weren't taught was how to say no to our parents, how to say no to anybody. My mother was the kind of person who, very intelligent, very high achieving person, but she would say yes to things and then complain and criticize her friends behind their back. And so I became that kind of, I inherited that role modeling of being negative alone and saying yes to people and then being angry at myself for saying yes and having resentments. And after a while, I thought, well, I'll tell you the story how this all came about. We were at a family bar mitzvah party on the East Coast where my father grew up, and two of the relatives were standing talking across the room, and my mother and I had been dancing and having so much fun. We were having a lot of fun, and then we decided to sit down and take a little break and have some water, and we see these two cousins talking across the room. They were having friendly party chatter, no big deal, and suddenly she gets into her gear, her negative gear, and she said, "I wonder what they're talking about with their heads all huddled together." I'm like, what is up with that reaction? What is the big deal? Why do you feel so negative? Why are you so angry? Why do you feel left out? And why do you feel rejected? And in that moment, I realized it was like being hit with a bolt of lightning. I realized where all my negative thought patterns came from, her role modeling. And when you're living that life as a child, and the negative emotions are all tangled up with love, a child doesn't know the difference. But a child absorbs and internalizes all the negative behavior and all the criticism and all the why didn't you make all A's and believe them. And then they develop limiting, what we call now limiting beliefs. And so that day at that party, I thought to myself, okay, now I have awareness. What am I going to do about it? I'm going, and I said, yes, this is your opportunity to change. As I'm sure you know, awareness is the first step. And so I went on a quest to understand what to do, and I studied myself. Did some research. I did a lot of work on myself and became just a happier, better version of myself.
Nice. Very good stuff. Cool. All right. Janice, the next thing I want to bring up is something in your Banish Burnout toolkit and your book and all this good stuff. And I want to talk about the stop method, which is like a way to, in those moments when we're very stressed out, we can use this method to get control of ourselves and take ourselves in a new direction, possibly undo those thought patterns.
Yes.
So can you please give us a synopsis of what the stop pattern is?
Yes, so STOP is the very first tool in my book, Banish Burnout Toolkit. STOP stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. And this was developed by John Kabat-Zinn, who's considered the father of modern day mindfulness. And what STOP teaches you to do is to catch yourself in the act of overreacting and pay attention to what your head is doing. There might not be anybody around. I'll tell you a short story. I was going to a very large grocery store to buy a gift card for my son's girlfriend's birthday. I was in a hurry. I wanted to go to the gym first. It was a Saturday. I wanted to get to the party on time. I actually called this store to make sure they had the exact right gift card. I get there, I can't find the darn gift card. This place had so many gift cards, and you know they're like little 3x4 squares. You can barely see them all, and I couldn't find the gift card. And I started to feel myself get really angry and irritated. And in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are so stupid. Why did they tell me they had the gift card? Clearly they don't have the gift card. Now I'm going to be late. I got to go all the way to the front of the store, and then I'm going to have to go to another store, and everybody's going to be mad because I'm late. And oh my God, I'm going to let them have it. And this store was so large that on my way to the front of the store, I said to myself, wait a minute. No one's in the hospital. No one's legs are broken. No one is hurt or wounded in the street. Why are you so angry? This level of extreme anger doesn't fit with what's happening here, finding a little gift card. So I want you to stop this anger, turn on your happy face, smile, go up to the front of the store and say, how's your day going? Can you please help me find the gift card? And that is stop and action, learning to practice catching yourself in the act of overreacting.
Nice. Very well said. Okay, Janice, we are going to take a little break from the business at hand, and we have a little section of the show where we have three important questions, some important life lessons that we want to hear from you, a distinguished and accomplished person. So our first question for you is, Janice, what do you do to save or invest money on a regular basis?
Well, it's interesting. This, they don't teach finances in college unless you're getting a finance degree, and they don't even teach it in high school. Thankfully, my mother was very smart about money, and she taught me the first thing you want to do when you get your paycheck is cut up 10% and put it in your savings account. Of course, that's the most basic beginning savings. So once a year, I sit down with my husband. He has a full-time job. I don't. So he puts away a lot of his paycheck towards his 401k, and my paycheck covers the basic bills. And then he's got several different financial instruments. And then sometimes I might put some money, I'll buy a savings bond or a State of Israel bond, something like that. And actually, the State of Israel bonds pay more than the other kinds of bonds. So that's the way I invest my money.
Sweet. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Next question for you is, do you have any sort of spiritual, meditative, or some sort of daily practice to keep your mind, soul, body, or not body yet, because that's the next question, in check?
I like a practice. So a lot of people talk about 3 good things or gratitude journal, things like that, developed by Sean Acor. I like to look at it a tiny bit differently, and that is, what is one major thing to be happy about that happened? If you're doing it at night, what happened that day? One wonderful, happy thing, instead of always dwelling on, oh, poor me, you shouldn't see what they did to me at work today. Oh, my wrists are tired from typing so hard at the computer. I'm tired of being on the call center and hearing all the complaining customers. So I like to think of one good thing, whether it be my son and I had a big belly laugh during lunch today, or I took a walk with a friend and she helped me and I helped her, or I brought some lemons from our tree to the neighbor. I try to think of one good thing that happened.
Nice. Very good. And our last question of this section is one I think is your bread and butter, and that is, what do you do to have some regular exercise in your life?
So I just posted last week. Last week was my 12-year anniversary as a Zumba instructor. And of course, there's a story. So I had been a technology recruiter for 20 years, and then we had the big bad recession of 2008, which I'm sure everyone will remember. And I had to figure out something to do, and I was tired of recruiting anyway. So I thought, when in doubt, go to the gym. So I would drop my son off at high school and drive to the gym every single day. And there I found Zumba fitness. And I met a woman there who also had been a recruiter and loved to dance. And she said, you should become a Zumba instructor. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? You can't earn a living as a Zumba instructor. But I did it anyway because I love to dance. I always thought it would be really fun to teach other people dance. And with Zumba, because it's fitness, it's not complicated dance moves, very simple step side, with salsa, merengue, etc. And so it's a lot of fun because we're all happy. We're listening to really, really good music. And then we have parties. Once a quarter, I have a party for my students and we get to know each other. And so for me, there's 3 elements to being motivated to get fit. You have to be having fun. You have to have other people around, and it has to be on a regular basis. And that's what Zumba Fitness does for me.
Nice. Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing. And now we will move on and get back to the business at hand. So here we go. All right. Janice, preparing for this interview, I got almost a college degree in neuropsychology. And I got to learn all about the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex and the difference of them and how we try to transform our fears and anxieties from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex so that we can function better. How do I sound so far?
You've said everything perfectly.
So when we're in those stressful environments, I would love for you to tell us how we transform our thoughts that are going on in the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, and expound as you would like how we do that effectively.
So I need to first explain, as you've brought up, the amygdala is the fear center of the brain. Some people like to refer to it as the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain. Of course, in ancient history, that was what protected people from predators. And so it's not a horrible thing. If you're about to step into the street, it turns on so that you can protect yourself or your children. However, in the workplace, we don't always want to be running on high. The stress hormone cortisol pops into the head and epinephrine. And when we're on high with those chemicals in our body for long periods of time, it has a deleterious effect on every part of our body, our organs and our blood and our heart, lungs, everything else. So what we want to do is, when we're in a stressful moment, I mentioned the STOP method. The other half of that tool is called the Stress Audit. And so let's just say someone is rude to you in a meeting. I don't know why. I know it happens. And so when that happens, your body starts to react. And your body sometimes is the only indicator that you're upset. So in a business meeting, I assume you're not going to argue and have a big fight over whatever the little disagreement was. You're probably going to try to get along and think to yourself, well, I'll deal with this person a little bit later. I'll figure out how I'm going to deal with it. But in the meantime, you're upset. Whether you realize it or not, your body will tell you. For me, it's knots in my stomach. I've heard all kinds of reactions: clenched teeth and jaws and neck ache and backache and sweaty and rosacea on the skin, and all kinds of reactions I've heard about. It's important to understand what is going on for you when that happens. As soon as possible after a stressful event, it's important to sit down and write with a pen and paper, because that activates a different part of the brain, and understand what happened, how you felt physically, how you felt emotionally, what you may have said, how extremely upset did you get, how long did you stay there, and what addictive behavior did you engage in. Did you drink? Did you overeat? Did you overshop? And you know all the addictive behaviors. So while you're dumping on this piece of paper, the amygdala is getting it all out for you. When you go back and reread what you wrote and analyze, then the prefrontal cortex, the executive functioning, rational part of the brain, is taking over, and you can think more clearly. Wow, this is what happened. This is why I was upset. Sometimes you don't know why one comment can spark you to be overreacting. Sometimes it can be something that in the current day that connects to your childhood. It can connect to a prior boss that might have been rude to you, as many could be. And so it's important to understand where the spark came from so that it doesn't have that big an impact on you in the future.
That was awesome. Very cool.
Thank you.
And hope everybody will do that. Next time you get that stress, now you have the tools, the way to conquer that fear and get out of that amygdala and analyze it and get rid of those hormones that are not doing good for your body. So that's not good.
Right.
Okay, Janice, last section of the show is our lightning round. Are you ready for this?
I better be, huh?
You better be. Janice, your favorite book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read that my mother probably had it on her bookshelves, and I probably read it one summer while I was in high school. And what I loved about it, and what I consider one of my biggest strengths, is the way I interact with people, and I really have an intuition. I even taught my son when he was 7 years old how to look people in the eye and address them, and I made him say good morning to all his friends' parents when he would see them on the school ground, ask them how they're doing. When he called them at night, I said, when the parent answers the phone, say, good evening, Mr. Goldstein. Is Joey there? And I got reports that I had the most polite child in the class. And my mother did the same for me. She taught us it's important to know how to act nice and to treat people and ask people about themselves. So I really love that book.
Great. Janice, your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, there's so many, but lately my favorite thing to cook is cauliflower pizza, because it tastes like real pizza, and no one, if you invite people over and they don't know what you're making, they don't know the difference. So I really like, and it's really, really good and tastes yummy and very low calorie.
Sweet. I'm coming over.
Okay.
Janice, your favorite place you ever visited?
Oh, so many. There's so many choices. I loved Paris. I've been there twice because when I was in high school, I studied French, and I always thought someday I'm going to go to Paris. I love being able to speak French in Paris. And of course, the food is fantastic, and the people are really interesting and fun and different.
Okay, cool. And last but certainly not least, our last question for you is, Janice, your favorite way to give back to the community?
Again, there's a lot of different things I do. I'm a huge proponent of the American Heart Association. When I was teaching aerobics the first time in the 80s, we used to do these all-day heart-a-thons, or whatever they called them. And so ever since then, since I started teaching Zumba, every year during Heart Month, which is February, I raise money from my Zumba students to donate to the Heart Association.
That's awesome. Very cool. Love it. All right, Janice, before we let you go, we have the time for you to share away. Tell everybody where they can find anything about you or the Banish Burnout Toolkit or anything else you would like to promote. Now is the time to do it. So please, Janice, share away.
Thank you, Greg. My website is janicelitvin.com. I hope Greg will put that in the show notes. You can download a free chapter of my book on the book page. Scroll down to the bottom, put in your name and email, and you can get a free copy of chapter 1 and get in touch with me. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. You'll find links to my LinkedIn on my website, and I love to meet new people.
Okay, awesome. Well, Janice, we wish you much success in your very most important mission and journey and purpose. And thank you very much for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. You're a really, really fun and upbeat and interesting interviewer.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Sure.
And that will wrap up another episode of the show. Questions, comments, feedback, you know where to find us or find me. Greg at actionnowcfo.com. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week.